let's talk about the roles of the standards. Okay, the roles of standards is to establish common rules that everyone adheres to. For management, standards address all aspects affecting interoperability. The first thing is the rules for management message exchange and the way in which management messages encode information. The second is a complete and consistent set of basic management functions with well-known meaning, parameters, and function return codes. The next is the way in which the entities that are being managed are modeled as management information. So, standard management protocols address the first aspect, standardizing management messages and rules that guide their exchange. They also include a set of basic functions addressing the second aspect. And the third aspect, which is management information, is often the most tricky to standardize. Many of the entities that need to be managed are in fact different, and they have different features that need to be represented and might even have different physical characteristics. This can lead to a monumental amount of information that needs to be standardized and to standards that are in constant need of update and extension. Any particular piece of information, perhaps with the exception of a few very general aspects, might apply in only a few cases, which makes a potential standard less widely applicable and by the same token decreases the pressure in getting the information standardized. Okay? Because they establish the common rules that allow managing and manage systems to communicate, management standards play a certain role in network management wherever interoperability between systems is concerned, between managers and agents, and specifically between management applications and devices in the network being managed. Okay? Management standards are a prerequisite for making management economical and for supporting new services and devices in a network. Okay. So, in the end, the success of a standard depends not on what it does on paper, okay, but whether it is actually adopted in the marketplace, okay. As a general observation, standards tend to be successful if they meet the following criteria. The first criteria is they are universal, okay, in that they stick to a least common denominator in terms of functions that everyone still will have to support anyway. Okay, their scope may therefore be somewhat limited, but within the scope they are complete. Okay, the next one is they are extensible or offer a platform on which extensions are possible to meet new requirements. Okay, this makes the standard future-proof to an extent. Okay, and lastly, they are easy to implement. This facilitates their acceptance and is a prerequisite to obtaining the critical mass for a standard to become not just a de jure standard, that is a standard on paper only, okay, but a de facto standard. It is a standard that has actually caught on, that is widely implemented, and that the industry has generally accepted. the second part of the dimensions of network management, which is the management subject. Okay. Um, in terms of their management needs, network systems and applications have much more in common than what separates them. Configurations need to be displayed, alarms have to be communicated and logged, operations have to be executed remotely, information about the entities that are being managed need to be modeled and represented. The broad management themes are generally shared, which means that in general, the same management principles and paradigms apply across the board. However, certain aspects and requirements are unique to each. For this reason, it can be important to be clear about the subject of the management. Okay? There might be only specific details in which network, system, and application management differ. But as the saying goes, the devil is in the details. Hence, attention to those details is required. For example, network management must deal with end-to-end connections, making sure that the configurations of routers and switches across the networks are coordinated. This does not concern application or system management. System management deals with aspects such as memory utilization and hard disk capacity. Systems management is somewhat similar to dealing with individual routers and switches in the network, but it does not involve the end-to-end considerations. The next is application management is largely concerned with aspects that relate to the deployment of software, such as keeping track of software licenses and ensuring that the operating system version is compatible with a given patch. Okay, although similar tasks apply to software that runs on routers in a network, general purpose application management generally involves a far greater set of dependencies and degrees of sophistication for those tasks. For further specialization, each of these disciplines can be further subdivided into an arbitrary number of subcategories, becoming more specialized in the process. Let us look at network management as an example. Okay, here we can distinguish between the management of transmission systems, switching equipment, and communications at layer 3 and above. Okay, we can furthermore distinguish between the types of technology being managed. For example, depending on the transmission media such as wireless, cable, or hybrid fiber coax, and the switching and routing technology used such as ATM, IP, or MPLS. Okay, another distinction that can be made concerns the services that are to be supported by the network to be managed. Management of a data network versus a voice network. Okay, versus a video or perhaps a cable TV network. Okay, with the appearance of converged networks, the latter distinction has actually started to disappear at the networking level, although it still matters at the service management level. Okay. Lastly, each communication technology and each class of applications has some management requirements that are specific and unique. And even if they have much in common from a higher level perspective. For example, For voice networks, one aspect that requires management concerns dial plans. Dial plans determine where voice calls are routed depending on the phone numbers that are dialed. For ATM networks, an important category of management requirements concerns the management of permanent virtual circuits or PVCs, and the list goes on. That ends the first and second orthogonal dimensions or the network management dimensions.